1949, Mao's PLA won against ROC's armed forces in the Civil War and took over China. Mao then founded PRC on October 1st. Mao's PLA then planned to attack Kinmen to cut off ROC's last retreat to Taiwan. Mao sent Ye-Fei's Third Field Army to lead Unit 28 and 29 to take down Kinmen. Unit 28's commander Xiaofeng was in charge of the attack. They thought taking down Kinmen was going to be a piece of cake. But Kinmen's ROC armed forces became the last front line of defense to keep Taiwan from also taken over by the PRC. ROC leader Chiang Kai-shek sent Li Liangrong's 2nd Regiment to Kinmen to defend it. Chiang Kai-shek then sent Taiwan's Division 201 of local young fighters towards Guningtou on Kinmen. Also sent a lot of M5 tanks nearby. October 8th, 1949, Chiang Kai-shek then sent 12th Regiment led by Hu Liang and Tang Enbo as reinforcements. The next day, October 9th, 1949, ROC Armed Forces Unit 18, Division 1, 11th, 33rd and 31st Regiments were all sent to Dadeng Island to fight PLA's Third Field Army. ROC Armed Forces fought PLA's Third Field Army but retreated from Dadeng back to Kinmen. The other side of Xiamen was also lost to PLA, so ROC Armed Forces bombed Xiamen's shipyards, causing PLA to lack in their fleets before retreating back to Kinmen. October 17th, 1949, PLA sent their first attacking fleets towards Kinmen carrying a bunch of RMBs and furniture, thinking it's going to be an easy win. PLA planned to land right in the middle of Kinmen, cutting the island in half before setting target on ROC Armed Forces at Guningtou first. Then they planned to go to the east side of the island to take on Mount Taiwu. But strangely, on that same day, a big storm came and blew their vessels towards the beach of Guningtou. So on October 24th, 1949, ROC's M5 tanks were doing military drills at Guningtou. The tanks saw the PLA and fired at PLA's 244th Regiment and hit their ammunition vessel and blew it up. ROC's Taiwan Youngster Division 201 then charged at PLA's 244th Landing Regiment. 12th Regiment of ROC Armed Forces also came to reinforce Division 201. PLA was getting their butts kicked, but the commander of ROC, Chen Dunsu, was martyred. October 25th, 1949, ROC sent Air Force and Navy to target landing PLAs. ROC surrounded landing PLA forces with vessels and Air Force and began pounding on them. ROC Air Force then targeted PLA's long-range artilleries and mortars across the sea, cutting off all of PLA's Regiment 244's long-range reinforcements. PLA's 244th Regiment crumbled. PLA's commander Xing Yongsen used the grenade to end his own life to avoid capture. PLA then sent 2 other regiments, 241 and 253 towards Linzuo and Xibao, which is on the left and right side of Guningtou. 241st Regiment charged at Kinmen capital, and 253rd Regiment charged at Guningtou. Regiment 241 of PLA faced heavy resistance and almost got wiped out by ROC Armed Forces, leaving only 100 troops by the afternoon. So what's left of 241st Regiment retreated to join up with 253rd Regiment at Guningtou. 253rd Regiment was having a better luck. They took down Guningtou and Xiputou. 253rd Regiment then planned to keep charging south towards the highlands, while other PLA stayed to defend Guningtou, which they just took down. When PLA's 253rd Regiment got to the highlands, ROC's Taiwan Youngster Division of 201 held them off. They fought hard to defend the highlands. General Li Liangrong of ROC Armed Forces then mobilized ROC artillery forces and mortars to reinforce Division 201. PLA's 253rd Regiment then retreated all the way back to Beishan as the ROC Armed Forces began counterattacking. Unit 19's Regiment Commander Li Guangqian unfortunately martyred during the counterattack. ROC Armed Forces plan to take back Guningtou and other northwest regions of Kinmen. PLA then sent Unit 28's Division 82 and 85 to reinforce Guningtou. Division 82 sent Regiment 246, Division 85 sent Regiment 259. Both began landing towards Guningtou. ROC Armed Forces then sent Naval and Air Force to pound on these PLA regiments. PLA's 246th Regiment Deputy Head Liu Hanbin was shot dead right at the beachhead. The rest of PLA's landing forces joined up to defend Guningtou against ROC's counterattack. PLA tried to break through and head south but was blocked by ROC's Taiwan Youngster Division 201. ROC Armed Forces then sent Technical Corps to blow up all the landed PLA vessels, giving them no chance of retreating back to mainland. ROC's Taiwan Youngster Division 201 then crumbled the rest of PLA regiments and charged towards Guningtou. On October 26, 1949, ROC Armed Forces sent Unit 18 with M5 tanks and took back Linzuo. Unit 19's Division 14 of ROC Armed Forces then took back Nanshan. Unit 18's Division 353 of ROC Armed Forces, covered by M5 tanks, charged at Beishan and pounded the PLA's 253 Regiment and took back Beishan. PLA's 1st Company Commander Huang Jinxing was captured. The rest of Unit 18 charged at Guningtou and completely crumbled the PLA forces. The morning of October 27, 1949, PLA sent another wave of reinforcement vessels towards Guningtou, but all their regiments got captured when landed. What's left of PLA remnants with nowhere to go began escaping south to Strongwood Hill. ROC Armed Forces Unit 18 wiped out the rest of PLA remnants and captured 2 PLA regiment commanders Liu Tianxiang and Xu Guo. The 3rd regiment commander of PLA, Sun Yunxiu, didn't want to be captured, so ended his own life with a bullet. The PLA was wiped out in the Battle of Guningtou. Not a single soldier retreated back to mainland. The Battle of Guningtou was over. It was the battle which gave ROC her last breath to stay alive in Taiwan. And it was also the battle that defended Taiwan from taken over by the PRC. ROC Armed Forces had the casualty of 6,000. PLA had the casualty of 9,000. Respects and salutes to all those soldiers, and thank you ROC Armed Forces for your sacrifices and your services.